Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire. I'm so glad you're sticking with us with these interviews from Israel. While I was with the Ambassador Summit, Tamar was someone I met on one of the first days there. She was assisting, even though she is normally, I believe, a tour guide as well with We Are Israel. I said, I want people to hear your story. So this week is Tamar, who it took us 5 days to finally get her interview because of our busy schedule. Here is Tamar from Israel. Hi, Youth Worker on Fire. This is Doug again, your host. Today I am in Israel, in Jerusalem, and I am with some very special people, Tamar and her husband. The other day we were talking, or you were talking to all of us, and you were telling us about the day of the war, when it started and what was happening. Would you mind telling us that story again?
Sure, absolutely. So October 7th, 2023 was a holiday, Simchat Torah. It's a holiday that we celebrate the giving of the Torah. And I was sleeping and Maor came into the room and woke me up at around 7, I would say, and said, "There's a war." And I said, "Leave me alone. There's no war. There's nothing going on. Nothing's happening." Like, okay, we're used to, unfortunately, hearing about different attacks and things like that. So I said, okay, maybe there's an attack or something. But I said, no, there's something serious going on. We heard a lot of sirens and things going off. So we knew that we needed to be in safe areas.
Yeah.
We are part of a Orthodox Jewish community. So people don't use their phones during the holiday, and we don't drive during the holiday.
Yeah.
And we gather together at the synagogue for the morning prayers. And we were watching our friends going by. We live very close to the synagogue. We were watching our friends going by that didn't know what was going on and just were going on their daily life and daily routine, which was going to the synagogue for the prayers. And Maor, because he had already heard that there was something going on, went to the synagogue and said to everyone, "Something is going on. Everybody needs to disperse and go back home to make sure that if you're being called up to come back to reserve duties, that you're available." So people started going home. At one point, they said, "Okay, the morning prayers are canceled and everybody needs to go home."
Wow.
And we did, and within every couple of minutes, we were hearing more and more and realizing that the numbers are increasing and that the stories are even more dramatic than we thought at the beginning. At that point, I believed that there was a war. And at that point, we were also, for me on my end, I was waiting. I knew that he was going to get the phone call and that he was going to be called up. And I said to myself, if he gets called up, then I know that it's serious. Also because of his job, but just because of this feeling of like, if they're getting to if they're calling up so many people, this is really serious. And sure enough, he got the phone call. And I think what was heartbreaking for me, this is something that I express a lot, was that we had our eldest daughter, Arbel. She was 3 years old. And we were waiting we really wanted to have another baby. And I remember having this feeling of, I don't know if I'm ever going to see Maor again. I don't know what we're looking at for how long. Like, I don't know where any of this is, like, what's going to happen. I don't know where he's going. And this fear of, I can't believe that I'm going to be left with just one daughter from him. I, at the time, didn't know that I was already pregnant with our second.
Congratulations.
So thank you. But this gut feeling of just complete fear, and just really the unknown, not knowing what we were looking at, how long, And I think that was the story of too many of my friends and my peers that were watching our partners leave and not knowing where they're going and for how long.
Yes.
And if they were going to come back. So I thank God was so fortunate and so lucky that I have Maor with me, even though he's for the past 2 years has spent more than 300 days on reserve duties. And unfortunately, a lot of our friends were not as lucky as I am.
So tell me how your faith has helped you come through this. I mean, you're Orthodox Jew. You were going to prayers that day and everything. They said, nope, go home, which is a smart thing to do. There's a war going on. You just need to stay at your house, pray from there. And how did that affect you? And what do you do with that as a mom?
I think for us, you can express what you felt, but I think I didn't feel that there was a lot of room for too much thinking on that day and for the time to come. What was amazing for me was how much the community gathered together in support. So it was prayer groups, and people would take in the Jewish world, we take the person that we're praying for with their full name. So Maor, the son of, and the parents' names.
Yeah.
And so people were gathering the names and doing a lot of prayers. But I think the being in movement, so people were gathering together and making meals, and were having babysitters come and spend time with the families whose husbands were out or wives were out. Just as much, the community was very, very, very well felt. And that's what held us, knowing that this community it's not just the Orthodox world, but I think any other community, people were gathering together to pray together, but to also be active in helping and making sure that everyone felt seen and heard as much as possible during the trying times.
Tell us about that atmosphere of, yes, you're Orthodox, but you have these other faiths around you. What is the feel for all of that? Do you separate yourself more with just your Jewish community when this happened? Does everyone kind of go to their sector and hunker down, as we say in the United States when war is coming or when we're in that? How does the community react when you have a community of different faiths?
The way I see it, that when we're not talking of time of war, I think Fuad, who's with us on the bus, said it beautifully, that there's sometimes we live separately, not in every city. For example, Maor grew up in Haifa, which is completely mixed with all different religions and faiths. But most of the cities are pretty separate in terms of Jews or Muslims or Christians. But the day is together. It's aside from the living, our doctors, we have Muslim and Christian doctors and nurses and teachers and lawyers. Like everything is very mixed. And same for the Muslims. They also have Jewish doctors, and it's very, very mixed. You can see it. I think the best example is a hospital. If you go to the hospital, like you can't tell because everyone is mixed and everyone is treated at the same places. So it's very much integrated life. Yeah. I think it would be a lie to say that on October 7th, 2023, that wasn't altered a little bit. I think people felt a lot of fear on every side. I think Jews felt fear and weren't sure about which one of our neighbors was in support of us and which wasn't. And I think Muslims on their end felt the same about being scared that something would that someone would think that they were doing something and be hurtful towards them. So I think there was a lot of fear on every end. Mm-hmm. Today, 2 years past, I want to say that things are starting to people are starting to heal a little bit and move forward and get past that. I think these things take time. So do we have what to do? Absolutely. We've got a lot of work to do. Is there any tension? Yes, there is tension. Is life still going on? Absolutely. So it's a complicated relationship that we have here in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I think everyone at this point is really doing their best and really wanting 100% of just peace. I think both ends, both sides of the tension, if we want to talk about it that way, is that everyone really just wants to live in peace, have a good life.
This is home. You want peace at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody serves, women and men. It's, in their young life, especially, they serve in the Army in some way, or Air Force, whatever military sector or military branch. So tell me what you did with the time that you were in. We talked about that.
So the way it works is that there's military service from when you're 18, approximately 18. After high school, women do approximately 2 years, men do approximately 3 years. And there's an option for mostly for Orthodox women, but also for other people who don't find themselves in the military world, to do something called national service, which is what I opted to do, which is 2 years of working in hospitals or in schools or with at-risk children. I worked for 2 years. I actually did 2 separate years, but my first year I worked for new immigrants to Israel, helping them in school with the kids and then at home after school. And then my second year, I was actually on a delegation that flew. I lived in Chicago for a year and worked at the Jewish Day School and with the youth movements and the Jewish Day camps. So that was my service for 2 years. But there are no reserve duties. There's no reserve duties for national service. So I was not on reserves on October 7th. The military is a little bit different. You do your active duty, which is an obligation for everyone. So that you can do between the age of 18 to 21 for men. And then once you're finished, usually the men are called up for reserve duties. Usually it's very short. Mark can tell you more about it, but it's about 2 weeks or a month, a year. You're not, before the war, it was like up to 56 days every 3 years, over 3 years.
Right.
So the war obviously changed that.
Changed everything.
But before the war, Maor used to have every June, he would have a couple weeks of training, which was, we already knew when it was going to happen, how long it was going to be. It was very clear, what was going on. And then after the war, things have changed and it's much longer for longer periods of time and we don't always know when it's going to come. So for example, he finished, he had a few days 2 weeks ago, and we already know that in January he's going in for another 60 days. So it changes. Things really changed for us since the war.
How is this helping for us to be here? And does it help? And maybe it doesn't.
This has been the most inspired I have felt in a very long time. I think for us to see people taking time out of their busy lives and making the efforts, leaving their jobs and their families to come and spend time in Israel and show us your support has been truly inspiring, and it gives us a lot of hope. We see a lot of hatred. We see a lot of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism on the news and on the media. And it's very scary to watch.
Yeah.
I'll give you the easiest example that comes to mind, that Maor and I want to take a trip in the summer with our kids. And so many of the locations that we discussed, I said, I don't feel safe going there. I wouldn't want to be there because I don't feel wanted. And I feel that it would be scary if my daughters who speak Hebrew would speak Hebrew and someone would notice that we're Israeli. So I think for us, knowing how much hate there is in the world, to see the amount of people and the support and the love that people showered us with has just been incredible. And for that, we will always be extremely grateful to you and to everyone in this conference.
Well, just know that we are grateful to y'all. I'm glad you feel that from us, but those of us who study about Israel, we know that you are our heritage, and we're grateful to you. Thankful, and we love Israel and love the citizens to make it up. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Youth Worker on Fire. Remember, next week, there will be another episode with one of our interviews from Israel. So we'll see you then on Youth Worker on Fire.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.